Hey, folks, another week on my rebooted show, Keith's Vision. We're at episode 75, and I think we understand we had a really interesting week. We are beginning to see the left go beyond what is measurable. I don't think the founding fathers had any clue that this country would ever get this bad. I pulled this off of one of the folks that I follow. Liberals are attacking conservatives and pushing for a civil war. We can feel that. If liberals wanted peace, there would be peace. If conservatives wanted a war, there wouldn't be any liberals. There's a lot of truth in that. These liberals are talking about guns and everything else, and it's like, wow, I thought you guys said no guns. Now they're talking about using guns. So a little house cleaning. If you feel the desire to help support the show, I am on Venmo under Keith-Ruland, or you can scan that QR code if you're watching the full version. And then also, you can buy me a coffee if you wish. Keith's Vision, no apostrophe and no spaces. So I'm going to get right into what we've got for the show today. So Nancy Pelosi, that name sounds familiar, doesn't it? January 6th, that sounds familiar too. So Nancy has got some problems. So the former chief of the U.S. Capitol Police calls out Pelosi directly, says she repeatedly denied his multiple requests from National Guard assistance before and on January 6th. He goes on to say, even on the 6th, Pelosi's sergeant at arms denied his urgent requests for over 70 minutes, 7-0. So January 3rd in the morning, she didn't like the optics of having National Guard. January 3rd, a couple hours later in the morning, the Stringer concurs with Irving, which is one of their folks there. They've decided, okay, yeah, we don't want the optics. As we go through the day, it's denied, all the way up until 2:01 p.m., where Irving stresses, okay, any minute from Pelosi. And then January 6th at 2:08, Irving gives authorization from Pelosi. So all day long, she was denying National Guard. And 3 days beforehand, in preparation, and many people have been saying this, Trump had said, you need National Guard. I will send them to you. He offered something in the neighborhood of 10,000 because he knew it would probably be a big amount of people. And she denied and denied and denied. And many of us have seen the video that her daughter did, documenting the deal, where she was actually in the car saying, yeah, I own this, I did this. This is going to get interesting to see how leaders are held accountable. So the Schumer Shutdown 2025. Wow, it's flying. It's flying like crazy. And there's one guy I never expected to stand so firm, but we're beginning to realize his actual stance when it comes to the American people versus government. So I'm going to play this from John. You should be able to hear it. You should hear it in his words because it's awesome. This is John Fetterman talking about the shutdown.
I think that's failure. And I'm the guy that's going to consistently vote for country over party. I'm always going to vote for paying our military over the party. I'm always going to vote for paying the Capitol Police over my party. And I'm going to continue to fight for the 2 million Pennsylvanians that depend on SNAP to feed themselves. And I'm also going to fight for the same 400,020 Pennsylvanians that depend on those tax credits to make health insurance more affordable. Two things are true, and we can fight for all of them as long as our government is open. My vote is going to remain firmly on keeping our government open, and I'm going to continue to fight for all of those Pennsylvanians that I'm honored to represent here. Hi, here we are.
So John is He's carving himself out as a rebel within the Democrat Party. He's beginning to become like Tulsi Gabbard. And he's just brutal. He's right out front and up front and in your face. It's going to be interesting to see. It almost sounds like they're looking to primary him, and it'll see if anybody comes to his rescue. But there he is on the left. Let's open government so we can negotiate, because we can't negotiate with it shut down. Now, anybody that has been trying to figure out whose fault it is, well, it's everybody's fault, right? It's the Republicans' fault, we're hearing, because they have all three branches of government. But we only have, as we covered last week, 53 US senators that are in the GOP that are voting for it. You need 60 to pass it. That means we need 7 plus. So everybody says it's the Republicans. Well, the truth came out, and it came out big. So let's play this. This is our second highest ranking House Democrat. She openly admitted her party has closed the government. Her party, the Democrats.
Person who can answer that question is Chuck Schumer and his Democrat colleagues in the Senate. They've now voted a dozen times to keep the government closed. And this is really important, Caitlin. Today, there was a big development on Capitol Hill that the second highest ranked House Democrat in leadership, Whip Catherine Clark, they admitted openly that they have shut the government down and that they are using hardworking American families as leverage for what? So that they can show a fight against Trump, and also so that they can restore $200 billion in free health care paid for by U.S. taxpayers to illegal aliens. Yes, that's in their bill. And it's just part of the $1.5 trillion that they have demanded to spend. We're not going to do that. They know we're not going to do that. And she said in her own words today, quote, "We know that families will suffer, but this is only one of only the leverage times that we have." She said that in her own words. And it was pretty shocking today to hear them say that. They usually don't say the quiet parts out loud. Person who
big time. The interesting thing I saw about that interview is normally when Caitlin's in the press room, she's interrupting. She's like the Bob Acosta. She's the replacement. She was very quiet during that whole thing and listened. It's almost like somebody was sitting in her ear saying, "You just shut up and listen to him." Things are changing at CNN. We'll see. But that was very interesting to see her not even respond or negatively fight back anything. She just sat there with a stiff face. So, spiritual warfare. We're all feeling it. Even pastors are bringing it up in their sermons that you can feel the increase. Over in Los Angeles, Karen Bass, the mayor, and Representative Robert Garcia, Democrat, he's on record here saying that they're going to build an ICE tracking application so that people can contact through that and let people know where ICE agents are. What would be the purpose of that again? I'm hearing that he's catching flack for this, but we'll see what happens. That'll probably happen behind closed doors. So let's hear his own words as he tells us what they're going to do.
Share this with the mayor. Over the course of the next couple of weeks, the Oversight Committee will be launching on their website a master ICE tracker where we're going to be essentially tracking every single instance that we can verify that the community will be able to send us information on. I shared this with the mayor.
Insanity, a representative setting up a system. Now, he's not the only one that is the House Oversight Committee. He's on the House Oversight Committee. Already saw a short interview from Mark Mullen that said, no, that's not going to happen. We're not going to be tracking ICE agents. However, Garcia's up there puffing his muscles saying, yeah, guess what? We're going to do this. We're coming for you. We're going to help you people out. We're just here about the people. And they keep talking about unmasking ICE. No, I don't say unmask ICE. I say unmask Antifa. That's who we unmask. So back to spiritual warfare. So this Texas Dem, Rep. Jolanda Jones, fuels violence, vowing to wipe out GOP and go for their necks This is what these people are talking about. Do they want civil war? It almost sounds that way, doesn't it? They've been, ever since Obama and prior, but Obama really did it. They're breaking us up into class pieces. And now they've got all the pieces out there and they're pitting people against each other. Those of us with our heads on, we need to keep them on a swivel, because these guys are basically making catcalls out to their people, out to their minions, and their minions are going to do the work. So keep your heads on a swivel. Listen to this lady. She's from the hood.
So we have to figure it out. So Donald Trump has changed things, and people trying to do what's always been done is not going to work. And I think that's why Democrats are losing black people. That's why they're losing poor people, because poor people, all they want is for us to fight. So if you hit me in my face, I'm not going to punch you back in your face. I'm going to go across your neck, because we can go back and forth fighting each other's faces. You got to hit hard enough where they won't come back. And so, yeah, for the same way I went to New York and spoke with Governor Kathy Hochul and said, if they're going to try to wipe us out in Texas, we need to wipe out every Republican in New York, in California, in Illinois. So no one can make me feel bad.
What does that
about
mean?
Fighting for the people that I represent. Because the people that I represent need someone who's willing to go in the ring and fight for them. And that's exactly what I'm going to do.
So, Representative, in that context, the reality of the world is we are living in a moment where, yes, there's this shutdown going down, and Democrats on Capitol Hill are standing up for that in the way they think is working. But we hear from them.
Notice, of course, it's CNN standing up for that. No, they're just holding the people hostage. And you heard it from the second in charge in the House talking about how they're using it as leverage against the American people. This is where we're at, folks. Now, you heard this lady mention that Donald brought change, and that change isn't what they wanted. Well, Obama brought change, hope, and change. And it was bad change. I think we know that. But elections have consequences. This is what they told us for 4 years with Biden. And then she comes around and, well, we're just not liking the way he's doing things. Well, tough. We voted him in. We got him by the electoral vote. We got him by the popular vote. It's insanity. It's insanity. And we got all three branches. So sit down, relax, watch how it's done. Trump does things differently. Yes, absolutely. Without a doubt. Now, this I came across this week, actually yesterday, I think. Yeah, yesterday. I thought this was very interesting. This guy had something to say about spiritual warfare and about, once you accept Christ, that the vessel now has the Holy Spirit in it. So the Holy Spirit will literally let you know when you're not doing something right. And he speaks about this. And I thought it was an incredible testimony that people should hear and be able to share across. This guy is on TikTok. His handle is the @ STR8_press which is PRESSYAH. He's got a lot of videos talking about different things that having to do with the Lord, Holy Spirit. But let's listen to this guy's testimony, because you can tell in his face he was moved big time by this.
Let me tell you about this time when God told me he didn't want me in the club no more. Stop drinking, stop smoking and all that. And I did it anyway. So boom, me and my people, we chilling one day, you know what I'm saying? And he like, man, look, let's go out tonight, whatever. I'm like, man, I ain't heard nobody, whatever. All right, I'm out there. So me and my people in the club, And at the time, my ex, she was like, man, look, taste this drink. So she handed me this drink. So I hit the drink. Knowing what God told me, I felt my taste buds go numb, boom, immediately. Before the drink even hit my mouth. Drink tasted like straight water. I said, man, this tastes like water. She was like, no, it don't. So boom, I handed it back to my taste it. She's like, nah, it's not water. I'm like, all right. So I go to the bar. I order my own drink. They give it to me. I put it to my mouth. Straight water. I'm like, then I heard God say, let me tell you why I told you, don't come to this club no more. Turn around. Lord, when I turned around, everybody on the dance floor cutting up, right? Out their mind, going hard out there. Jigging, I'm talking about their top. But everybody got strings attached to their hands. And the strings went all the way up to the ceiling. Man, there was 3 tall, dark, demonic spirits standing on that dance floor, as tall as that ceiling, looking at me, smiling and laughing. And you can guess where everybody strings on their hands was attached to. The hands of those demons. And they was bouncing them. Making everybody do their little dance moves they was doing. The demons was controlling it. And they were looking at me laughing about it. God said, this is why I told you, no more clubbing. Because my spirit will not lead you here. My spirit won't reside in the same temple as a demonic spirit. There's certain places you can't go no more. There's certain people you can't be around no more. Certain things you can't do no more. And listen, that opened my eyes to realize that everything is spiritual. I don't care what it is. It is all spiritual. There's some things that's happening in the world. Like, for instance, I know when me and my homies used to get down, certain music we would listen to turn us all the way up. Before you know it, it's going down. I say all this to say, behind that music is spirits. Being in these clubs and all these things, there are dark demonic spirits. So when you playing with fire, you don't get surprised when you get burnt. Right? Everything, a lot of stuff happening in the clubs or after the club. This stuff is all demonic. And God allowed me to see who's in control out there. Who he allowed to be in control out there. You got to choose today who you're going to serve. You're going to roll with God or you're going to roll with the enemy. And we all know how that's going to turn out in the long run. You might not get a chance to get it right by the end of the night. You know what I'm saying? Listen, that music, got to be careful playing with that music. I know I used to make that type of music. We used to shut the club down with that type of music. I'm telling you, me and my homies so deep on stage that we break the stage cave in. So we so deep on there. And we out our top and we bouncing and we done broke the stage. Telling you, everything is spiritual. Pay attention to where you at, who's around you, who's on side you. But most importantly, it's about what spirit lives inside you. Roll with God or get rolled over, man. Stop gambling with your salvation. Be blessed.
Amazing testimony from a guy who, I don't know why I happened upon it. I can only say the Holy Spirit as he guides us, right? Very interesting times. Very interesting times. We're seeing a lot of different things going on right now, and people are getting very angry. Just around my town, I'm noticing more and more and more people. They've forgotten what a red light is for. And when I get a green light and I'm the front car, I wait. And inevitably, somebody goes barging right through like nothing. And there was a motorcycle that was next to me on one of these. And I saw out of the corner of my eye, there was a car still coming. And the light turned green for us. And he had looked at me and I just nodded, no, don't go. And he held. And sure enough, right through the intersection, he would have been clipped as soon as he let that clutch out. Heads on a swivel. Things are really crazy. So here's Don Thompson on X. I'm not going to go through all of these because it's a pretty inclusive list, but everybody talking about, Trump, 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 Trump. They've all got Trump derangement syndrome. He was fine until he came down the escalator. And then from that point, they hated him all. So I'm going to go over a few things. She says, for all you out there wondering how Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and the rest of their amazing team have improved your life, your families, and your neighbors, not to mention the world, ponder this partial list. So, yeah, securing peace in the Middle East. We're still watching that. That's a regular thing, right? Secure it, unsecure it. But I think he's done an incredible job with his team in creating an agreement that works for both sides and all those surrounding as well. It's bringing in the surrounding Arabs to come against Hamas and say, guess what? You can't do this anymore. Secured our border. Boom. He did that first thing. That went right down. We don't even have anybody coming across now. And anybody that does is going to be legally. 7 wars, conflicts ended. That number is still fluctuating. I wouldn't stick to that. Lower crime rates, yes. The crime rates we're seeing because we're seeing riots. We're seeing protests that are peaceful protests, and they start swinging stop signs at police car windows. I didn't see any red MAGA hats, I can tell you that right now. Lower interest rates, no tax on tips. This is one of the things that he ran on. No tax on Social Security for 88% of Americans. Now, my understanding is that is once you are 65, remember that no tax on tips is going to be at the end of the year. So you'll be taxed on your tips, and then you'll get to write them off at the end of the year. So don't get all upset that you can't take it, because you are going to get it back at the end of the year. Gas prices are down. We've noticed that here in our little valley. End of the Iranian nuke program. That's a good one. We don't know if it's the end, but he certainly made a statement, unlike any other president that I've seen in my lifetime. No mandated COVID vaccine for the military and the higher back of those soldiers that refused the jab. That's big. That's huge. He's added auto loan interest deduction. So you can deduct your auto loan interest. Whoever thought of that, right? No more Medicare and Social Security monthly checks to TPS migrants. So if you've come in illegally and you're on our system with our tax money, that's a problem. And that is the big stickler for the Democrats right now at trying to hold the government open. They will not let it open because they want $1.5 trillion in Democrat pet funds. They want to open PBS, NPR. These are all closed down. This is all just wasteful spending. Let's go down here. Here's a biggie, right? 4.3 trillion to 17 trillion pledged investments from manufacturers and others securing our imports of critical minerals. Through his tariffs, he's bringing people to the country, and then those people are going to be manufacturing, and they will be hiring us, Americans. This should be a good thing. Why are people so angry about that? Highest recruitment of military during peacetime than any president. The VA is up 5% to 85% this year for vets in satisfaction. We covered a little bit of that last week. They've improved the wait times by 25%. So the good stuff that I had highlighted last week that Biden had done or didn't change, there's already an improvement. And we're only 9 months in, right? It's a transparent government. How more transparent do you get than having the media in the Oval Office with free access to the president just about every time you turn around? We didn't have that with the last president. And I think anybody being honest with themselves, yeah, that's true. So let's get down to a few of these others. She's talking about we cannot go backwards by electing Democrats and risking losing all that's been accomplished. The alternative is dystopian, chaotic future with the left-wing lunatics. Yes, and I will just mention Atlas Shrugged, right? Movie or book, pick your one. And 1984, movie or book, pick your one. There's, I think the movie industry got it right decades ago. They've seen it, they saw it coming. Now, it's interesting that they saw it coming. That's probably another topic, right? So I am going to verse of the day for this because of the fact that we are in a spiritual warfare. We are in Ephesians 6, and that would be verse 10 through 20 for the whole thing. I will just read you 12. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. Now, I'm going to take you back to what this gentleman was saying. This guy was allowed to see what was happening on the back end of all that dancing in the spiritual world. And the 2 drinks that he tasted like water. That's the Holy Spirit working on you. People talk about they don't believe in God. Well, it's gonna be a bad day if you don't. All right. So that's our verse on spiritual warfare. You've seen this if you've followed me long enough. You have a choice. Okay, you can choose smoking or non-smoking for eternity. Earth is preparing for a war. Heaven is preparing for a wedding. Choose your destination while you still can. There are no do-overs, none, zero, zip, nada. And you can't not choose because the heavens declare his glory. He's already said you can't deny his existence. So I would say get on the stick, get your salvation in order. Read John 9. That whole chapter will give you everything you need to know. Second Amendment, I like to cover this regularly because it's an issue. Short little statement on what the Second Amendment is, but we'll just finish it off with the last 4 words. Shall not be infringed. Period. It doesn't say, well, if this or well, if that, or you need a specific reason to have a concealed carry. No, it just says right there, shall not be infringed. Our founding fathers knew that. Help me sign, right? If you see that, something's going on. Teach it to the family. And then, of course, the Tower Garden we talked about. krulin.towergarden.com if you want to take a look at that, grow your own salads and everything else. Thank you again for another week. It's been an interesting week to say the least. We shall see as we go into week 4 of this Schumer shutdown 2025. We'll see what happens. Have a great week.